Live once again. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to another live stream of Sober Talk, Sober Talk Live. This is one of my favorite, favorite series to tackle, and here we are again, trying to stay sober. And if you're not a member of Alcoholics Anonymous or a member of Narcotics Anonymous, feel free, anyways, to hang out with us. We are just going to, hey, what's going on, Sean? Welcome, my friend. We're just going to look for ways to help us stay sober today. Let me say right out of the gate, since we already have two people in the stream, the first thing I want to say is I had a miracle happen to me today. I woke up today and I found it not necessary to take a drink. And any day that happens, it is truly still a miracle. So, again, I want to thank everybody for being here for me today because I am still a selfish alcoholic. And I need every last one of you out there to help me stay sober today. So thank you all so much. And there we have it. My sister is in the chat. Hi, sis. We're going to talk about sobriety today, and we're going to kind of dive into some stuff that helps me stay sober. I hope if anyone out there is struggling with alcoholism, that they find some sort of, I guess you could say, they find something in these episodes that helps them through. Or again, if you have a loved one who is struggling with alcoholism, drug addiction, whatever their vice is, that they find something to kind of help them get through. So, real quick, since it is my sis in chat, I know that my wonderful sis will also back me up. Hang on. Booyah! Just like that, my sister is now a moderator. So, now that we have that taken care of, I always got to take care of business. Got to take care of business. All right. In the past, when I've done Sober Talk Live, one of the things that I usually would do is I would do my prayer off camera. That has changed since these dark times that we now live in. So because of the dark times that we live in, it is customary now for me to do my prayer on camera. So, hey, what's going on? Fleming, the ultimate grave taker. It's good to see you, buddy. Thank you for joining the live. We're going to try to stay, if anybody out there is struggling with alcoholism, drug addiction, whatever, we're just going to look at ways we can stay sober today, because that's all we got to worry about. We don't leave a foot in the past, and we don't leave a foot in the future, because if you do, you just piss on today. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We are going to look at how we can stay sober today. Okay. If we can make it through today, tomorrow, we'll worry about it when it gets here. Funny thing about tomorrow, though. Funny thing about tomorrow. The funny thing about tomorrow is it's always coming, but it never actually arrives, ironically enough. It never actually arrives if you think about it. Tomorrow is always coming, but it never gets here. So there we have that little tidbit. So as I said, it is customary for me to do my prayer on camera. So I'm going to, you got your big book handy. You're welcome to follow along with me on page 63. All right. Again, you're welcome to follow along. I'm doing the third step prayer, which will be the second full paragraph on page 63. And it goes as such. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Still a powerful prayer for me. Okay, so now that I've did that on camera and I feel very good, let's see what we could do about, we have a dear friend who, I don't know if he's in chat yet or not, who has had difficulty as of recent staying sober. and he had a little bit of time and things like that. So I figured it would be a great idea for me to travel back in time for over 14 years ago now, to when I got sober. Hey, what's going on? Blood Dragoon. Guys, if you have not checked out my buddy Blood Dragoon, most people get his name wrong when they say hi to him in their chat. Think different. Hey, what's up, buddy? Most people get his name wrong, but it's not dragon, it's dragoon. Because if you look at the spelling of it, uh, two O's, and most people get that wrong. I believe I got that right. Now, didn't I there, Blood? Amazing. I have not been in his live in a little while, but he's an amazing gamer and just a wonderful personality. So if you guys have not had a chance to get to know good old Blood Dragoon, he's a great guy. So today we're going to travel back in time to when I first got sober. Okay. And remember, this is all the way back. We're going to actually go all the way back to 2006 for this part of the story. The first thing that I need to talk about is I was a raging alcoholic, and when I say raging, I had serious aggression issues. I was the biggest contradiction you ever met. I was, you know, I wanted everyone to pay attention to me, but I didn't want anyone to pay attention to me. Okay. And let me explain. I wanted everyone to know that I was some tough guy, that sort of thing, that I was, this big tough guy, which I'm not that big. But I wanted them to all think I was this tough guy, not to be messed with, I'll do you serious harm, that sort of thing. And I wanted them to recognize that. And at the same time, I still wanted to be center stage. So I wanted them to leave me alone, but I wanted them to pay attention to me when I wanted them to, and I wanted them to do it a certain way, blah, blah, blah. You guys get the idea. So, if you will, I was that contradiction. And you'll find that's a commonplace thing with us alcoholics. We also like to do what I like to call taking prisoners. And that's basically where we kind of, the people that are around us, we kind of almost hold them hostage almost. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's like we make them believe that they can't live life without us, and we can't live life without them. And that whole dependence on human, if you will. So again, that contradiction of just some seriously sick thinking. Now that we have established that, at that time, my two daughters, who I've only got to see once in the 14 years that I've been sober, but they were still pretty little. My oldest one at that time was 4, and her sister was 2. By the way, my little sister at that time was 3 when this was going on, or she was about to turn 3. So what ends up happening is, because my alcoholism, most people don't also know this. Here, real quick, there's actually a spot that'll kind of sum this up really quick, and I'll touch base on this real fast, and it'll kind of again set that tone for what kind of an alcoholic I was. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. And here's the line that you all need to pay attention to. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Now that I've said that, I suffer from PTSD. As a matter of fact, at the age of 16, a counselor had to sit my dad down and explain to him that your son's coming home, and at that time, this was the easiest way to explain it. Your son is coming home in the condition of a Vietnam veteran. He's suffering, at that time, they called it post-traumatic stress syndrome, I think at that time. Now they've changed it to disorder. Okay, they keep changing the name on it. So I suffered from that, and which it's not uncommon that anyone who suffers from that that they end up becoming alcoholic. So that's exactly what I was dealing with. So I was constantly dealing with flashbacks, and I used alcohol to kind of get me through it. And my ex gets fed up with it, packs up our two daughters, and she leaves. Okay. And in essence, when she leaves, then there was that whole, you know, what, let me kind of break it down like this. I was, uh, I was at work, and I got, and I worked in the medical field at that time. I was a CNA CMT with insulin certification up at Camelot Nursing Home in Farmington, Missouri. And at that time, I was a med tech for that facility. And they told me, work an evening shift. Someone from night shift calls out, they're shorthanded, and it was my turn to stay over. So I was getting ready to go into a 16-hour shift. I was very pissed because I wanted to go home. I was tired. It was getting to the end of my usual stretch, and I usually took every Thursday and Friday off, and I worked through the weekend. So, I wasn't in the greatest of humor, and I wanted to go home and, sneak my alcohol that everyone, that I thought everyone didn't know I was sneaking, but everyone knew I was doing it. It was one of those things. I thought I was real sneaky, and everyone knew. It was one of those deals. So, um, so in the midst of all of this, I called home, told her I had, told my ex that I had to stay and everything, and she's like, "Okay, fine." I was very pissed. Then, I get through with my shift. I go home, and as I get to the front door, I hear the morning alarm clock going off. Kind of odd. Why is it going off? I went to push the apartment door open. I went to open the door, got out my key and everything, and basically the door, I could just push the door open. So by this time, this is okay, what the hell's going on, sort of thing. So I go in, and then I see a bunch of stuff now gone. You know, go in, my daughters are gone. The woman, their mother gone, and a bunch of stuff. And it's like, okay, what is happening right now? And, you know, and I figured she was getting back at me, because I've been off my rocker and everything. And, because of my drinking and everything, it's like, you know, so I figured she was making a statement. Okay. She went over to her mom's, she's making a statement, knock your stuff off, go get help. And, I in the apartment and everything, trying to piece all, and I finally fell on my knees in the middle of the kitchen, said, how could it have gotten this bad? Uh, Help me, figure it out. And, from there, I called out of work for the next 2 days. Um, and I'd like to say that that I got sober right that second, that I got right and everything. But no, the next 2 nights I went on a bender from hell. Every night I came home and I drank till oblivion. No, I'm sorry. I went over to a friend's and I drank till oblivion. And as a matter of fact, the first night on the way over to his place, by the time I got out of the car, I was already drunk. Okay. And I don't, so if that's any indication of, you know, of what was going on there, so, if you will, that's where it kind of started right then. Um, so, I went on the bender from hell for the next 2 days. I was hungover, and, you know, obviously, I talked to my ex in this meantime, and she basically explained I can't go on like this. The kids can't go on like this, and that sort of thing. Um, and for the record, I don't hold any of this against her. I mean, we did make the deal that she wasn't going to keep the kids from me, but she has done so. But I've done my part. You know, my oldest is now old enough to track me down on her own, and I know at some point that both the girls will. And at that point, it'll be on her shoulder. I did my part. So it's kind of like that. Now that that has been said, um, you know, the next couple of days, I well, by the end of that, I'm sitting there at the end of the 2 days. All of my, friends at that time had pretty well given up hope. But for whatever reason, I still had one that was kind of watching me real close. And we talked about her here on the channel, and that's Tanya. Well, I'm hungover and I go, I'm like, this is it. I can't do this. And I sat down on the couch, all hungover and everything. I'm like, screw this. And I took a loaded 357 Magnum. And when I say loaded, let me explain right now. I don't know why in the world I did this. I mean, some people say, well, you did a lot of target shooting, so this makes total sense. But with a 357 Magnum, it only takes one. I loaded all 6 chambers. I sat down on the couch, cocked the hammer, put it under my chin, and was getting ready to end it. As I'm putting the gun under my chin, the phone rings. I jumped, almost pulled the trigger anyways, but that's not how it didn't happen, obviously. It's my friend Tanya. She talks me into going to outpatient treatment. And, so after I got off the phone with her, I made the phone calls and got myself an appointment for outpatient treatment. Real quick, before we go any further in the story, again, I say I loaded all 6 chambers. And I really wasn't in my right mind, but I'm going to say right now, if I felt I needed to load all 6 chambers, that must mean I think I was going to miss. And if I'm going to miss that close, I probably shouldn't be trying suicide to begin with. So just kind of bear that in mind. Also, I have made numerous jokes in the past about this. As I'm sitting down on the couch, getting ready to do this, the phone rings, and I'm going to say it again. You know, I've joked about this in the past, saying that Tanya felt a disturbance in the force. While she was still alive, she would tell you, I don't know what made me call you. I just felt that I should have at that time. We'll talk a little bit more about that as the story goes on. Now, I go a couple of days, and then I'm set to go into outpatient treatment. There was even a couple of nights. Basically, I got drunk. I got rip roaring drunk, and we get to the day before I go into outpatient treatment, and I decided that day I was not, that night I was not going to drink. This is where February 7th comes in. So the night of February, going into February the 7th, I did not drink that night going into February 7th. And the reason why is I'm going to outpatient treatment. I didn't think it was a good idea for me to drink. Which evidently that was a commonplace thing, that people would show up at that outpatient treatment center completely drunk, stoned, God knows what. So I could have done it, but that was my first actual excuse when going into outpatient treatment to not drink. So I get to outpatient treatment. They do they set, they get my paperwork done and everything. And then it gets to the point, they said, you need to try Alcoholics Anonymous. And I said, no, I can do this. And they said, no, you really should try Alcoholics Anonymous. I said, no, I can do this. So I really, they said, give it a try. If you don't like it, you don't have to go. All right, I'll give it a try. They gave me an old Where and When. And the irony of this old Where and When was that the meeting I went to is not on it. Okay. And what I did was I looked at the address. got the location, called the location, talked to somebody um, in the office, and then from there, they gave me a phone number for somebody, and basically that was how I got in touch with the Friday Night Newcomers meeting over in Park Hills, Missouri, at the Lutheran Church on Taylor Street. And that meeting isn't even there anymore. And I got in touch with a guy who actually he passed away some years ago. Um, and I talked to this guy and I told him how afraid I was and everything. I didn't know what to expect. And he basically set me, yeah, I see you, Sean. You're there. You're there, buddy. Um, so he basically talks me into, coming in, and I get there early. My very first meeting, I get there early, and work actually let me take a longer break than they normally do for this. I actually got called into work to work that night, and you know, they let me take an extra long break. Oh, all right. Well, I can still see you in chat, so we're good. We're good. Real quick, as I continue the story, I see my counter says 4 people. There may be more than that, and a total of 4 in the live. Well, 4 likes. So thank you all so very much for that. Hey, Sad Cat, welcome to the chat. All right. So now we're at my first meeting, and I talked to this wonderful gentleman, Ron Kuntz. He passed away some years ago. We got 5 likes in the. Thank you for that 5th like. Thank you so much. So he talks me into, well, it's good to see you. It's good to see all of you. And I will say, as a sober member of AA, one of the things we love to say, is it's good to be seen and not viewed. Okay. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here for me. So Ron talks me into sticking around for the meeting. And we had a couple cups of coffee, and I just felt very much at ease. And then, people started coming in for the actual meeting. Again, Ron 12-stepped me. He was the one that 12-stepped me. And I'll have to tell a little bit more about Ron a little bit later in the live. But in essence, people started coming in. Oh, we got a new guy. We got a new guy. And that sort of thing. So we got a new guy at the meeting. Yeah, yeah. And they're like, how are you doing? Told them who I was and all that. And then they're like, do you have a job? Yes. Do you smoke? Yes. Do you have cigarettes? Yes. Do you have a car? Yeah. Pointed at the car I had and everything. 77 Oldsmobile Delta 88 Royale. Which again, my sister is in the chat. There was that particular car. 4 generations of our family rode in that car, and I was the 3rd generation to drive it. So take that in. Hey, what's going on, Caleb? Yep. So that was the car that I had when I got sober. Interesting ride. So now that we've talked about it, so I was like, yeah, that's my ride over there and everything. So it was definitely interesting. From there, go in, and the meeting's, getting ready to start, and met a lot of wonderful people around that table. Hey, what's going on, Clifford? So met a lot of wonderful people around that table. I wish I could tell you all of the details of that meeting. I only remember bits and pieces, because if you're not used to that whole thing where you're getting, when you're getting sober, let me say, your first 24 hours, you are really foggy. And it just seems like what is actually 24 hours is somewhere like, it feels like a week, or at least it did to me, so, kind of, so if you've not experienced that, it just literally feels like time slows down to a crawl. It gets really slow. I mean, really, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. How am I doing? I am fantastic. I'll tell you, I'll just say it again. Like I said in the beginning, I had a miracle happen to me today. I woke up today and I found it not necessary to take a drink. And any day, even after 14 years, any day that happens, it is still a miracle. That is how I'm doing. That is how awesome, uh, sobriety is for me. Okay. I don't get up and mourn my sobriety. I get up each day and I'm glad that I'm still sober today. I woke up today. I didn't come to from, a hard night drinking. I go into work. People genuinely like me for who I am. I don't, you know, I don't have I don't have to, later in the day, what did I do the night before and start calling around and asking people, hey man, did I do anything wrong to you yesterday? I remember us hanging out. I don't have to do anything like that. I don't have to backtrack and, just all that other stuff that comes with the trappings of being an active alcoholic. Recovery has its wonderful advantages, and I have a lot of fun. So, all right. So I'm sitting in my first meeting, and this gentleman, know the feeling. This gentleman comes in, and he comes in with this limp, and the way he's holding his big book in his right hand, it kind of looks a little bizarre, and he's coming in with this limp, and I'm like, he's smiling, and I'm like, man, this poor guy, he's coming in pretty banged up. I'm actually in my nursing uniform, and I'm still, even though I'm on break, if you will, uh, he's coming in, and and so I'm still in that mentality of, I'm in uniform sort of thing, and he's like, oh, we got a newcomer, and he's actually coming in with a guy he's sponsoring. So, to sit down together and everything. And, the meeting starts up and people are, trying their best from what I remember, they're trying their best to reach me, to help me feel comfortable. And I told everyone, uh, I know I ended up speaking that meeting, and I could not believe that this had happened to a guy like me. I worked in the medical field and everything. I thought I was smarter than this, just stuff like that. Well, the particular gentleman who came in with the limp, that was Sober Man. Okay. And I've told Sober Man this part of the story. So now I'm going to share it with all of you. He comes in with this limp and the way he's holding his big book and everything. And when he started talking, I mean, the way he talked, he had this enthusiasm about the program, and he was talking about, how it changes your life and things like that. But he did make one goofy mistake. He basically said, you're what? 18, 19 years old. And I started laughing because I'm 26 at the time. And he's like, okay, 2021. And now I'm really, because now he's just guessing, he's just like throwing darts, and all right, how old are you? Yes, I'm 26. And everyone's like, no, there's no way. And I'm like, yeah, I'm 26. And they're like, no, there's no possible what here. So I pulled out my wallet. And oh, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. No, it's okay. And then there was a gal sitting kind of catty corner to me. And she said, well, I'm curious. She looks at my driver's license. He really is 26 years old. And everyone's like, really? Sober Man thought it was a fake ID. The irony of it. Okay. So, now that, we've established, we get to, the end of the meeting, and I just felt very comfortable. And, they basically said, anyone who's willing to sponsor, please raise your hand. Sober Man raises his hand, that he's available to sponsor a person. And I'm like, that's the guy. That's the guy. And I will be honest with you, I was very scared that that he, that he would say, no, I'm not going to sponsor you. But I thought, well, it's just one of those things. If he says no, then I know that he's not the one. So after the meeting, I'm trying to make my way up to him, and they start passing around this book. Now, this is one of the great mysteries of my sobriety. Okay. But we'll talk about that. They've got this book, and people are writing down their name, their phone number, and their address. And I don't even fully know what this was for. I said, do you guys need mine? Yeah, it's my first meeting. I said, but if I can be of any help. And they're like, yeah, fine, And I wrote mine down, and I'm standing next to sober man. And as this is going on, I said, I seen you raised your hand to sponsor somebody, that you're willing to take on someone to sponsor. Would you be willing to sponsor me? And he said, sure, I would be willing to sponsor you. And he points out his name and number on the where and when, because when you pass it around, you take down people's names and numbers. And that's your original contact list, which again, I actually have that. I actually have that still. I still have that original where and when. Well, it goes around, and so he's like, call me once a day. I'm like, okay, no problem. So leave, go back to work. And I walked up to Tanya and I said, she said, I said, well, I said, did my first meeting today. She said, how did it go? I said, I really feel like I belong there. And she's like, good, good. She said, because right now is probably the most comfortable I've seen you in your own skin in the last, in about a week now. She said, so whatever it is you found there, hang on to it. Fast forward, this was Friday. I go through the weekend and, every day called sober man and talked to him. And of course, when he initially was talking to me, it felt like he was just trying to, like he didn't think I was really real about this, but, he kind of, he wanted to, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of like, hey, we know that you're not, I know you're not fully real for this, but I want to prepare you for down the road. Is kind of what I got the feeling from, which later on he did confirm that that was the case. He didn't, it's one of those things you don't know when someone's ready for this thing. Okay. You don't know. I can go into a meeting and, oh yeah, that person's not going to get it and be totally wrong. You don't know when a person's had enough pain. So, now it's Tuesday. I go to, my very first noon topic group. And this was my first time there. And of course, I met a whole new bunch of people and that sort of thing, different people. And they were all very friendly. Again, asking the same usual questions. Do you have a car? Do you have a job? Do you have money in your pocket? That sort of thing. Because to me, I mean, here I'm coming in, and I was all okay and everything. It did not occur to me that people came in a lot worse shape than that. And I hate the term that they called me at that time. They called me a high bottom drunk. I hate that term. Okay. I really do hate that term. Because everybody's bottom is different. So, and to give you an idea, that Olds Delta had some money in it. I had a very nice apartment. I had the job as a med tech, and of all the things, not only did I have all of that, let me also say that I had enough money that I could have quit working for a good while, lived very comfortably, and this is with my ex and the two daughters. I could live comfortably for 6 months, no crazy spending, but live comfortably. All the bills would be paid and everything, and go back to work and still have money left over. To give you an even deeper idea, I remember complaining to some of my coworkers before all of this. I remember complaining that I was just about broke, and they're like, "You're just about broke?" Yeah, I'm just about broke. I'm down to under 500 in my wallet, and they're like, "You know what? Screw you, man. Really, screw you." Um, that should give you an indication. I was good with money. I was really good at how I invested my money and things like that. So now so I didn't, to me, I mean, in my alcoholic fog, I guess you could say, I did not fully understand that whole thing that people would come in to AA in really bad condition. So, if you will, I was kind of oblivious. So people kept asking me if I needed things. Sat through my first noon topic group meeting, had a fantastic time. hearing, people's stories and things like that. And again, I felt even more secure. It was the most comfortable I could feel at that time because no one could understand what was going on within me. Thank you for that seventh like. I appreciate that so much. So, all of that going on, I come out of the meeting feeling pretty good. And, Sober Man was there and he was talking about how he needed a ride. And I said, well, you're sponsoring me. I said, let me, you know, give you a ride home. I said, it's the least I can do since you're going to be taking me, since you're taking me under your wing and showing me this thing, let me, help you. And we had to make a couple of stops. Yeah, again, you guys mean the world to me. So we had to make a couple of stops and, we get back to his place and, we, it's not this one in particular, but it's actually somewhere here in the office if an alligator didn't eat it. Basically, we go in, we sit down and he says, you know, what do you want from me? And at first, because everyone kept asking me, do you need this? Do you need that? Or whatever. And thank you, Clifford. Um, you know, he says, everyone kept asking me, oh, because the office is a disaster in here. It's like I'll set something down and it just like vanishes. The office is a disaster. I need to go through here and clean up this BS because this is absolutely ridiculous. Anyhow, so that's why I say that an alligator probably lives in here and eats everything. That's why it disappears. I guess you would know, living the farm life. Okay. So, sober man, he's like, what do you want from me? And again, everyone kept asking me, do you need a job? Do you need money? I'm like, what do you mean? He said, why did you ask me to sponsor you? Now, I did not know this, but I could have given the answer saying, I want what you have in the program. That's a little bit different. I think that's a different one than you guys used to have. I forget the guy's name now, but that was a long time ago. um, you know, uh, so but here's the answer I actually gave. I said I don't. Something to the effect of, I said I don't know what's going on with me, but I have to do something. Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yep, Daisy. I remember Daisy. Sad Cat, we will definitely get to that. You're going to love. We're going to talk about some of the places I've been since this time. But anyhow, we, I gave I don't know what's going on with me. All I know is I can't stop drinking. I'm miserable. And, you know, you seem to understand what's going on. Uh, you seem to understand what's going on. And I figure if I'm going to try this, you know, I I want it with that enthusiasm that you have because right now I'm miserable and all I want to do is die. And he, sober man kind of looks down. Then he looks up at me and he says, Prince Magnum, those books that you picked up today? Grab this big one right here and let's open it up and let's take a look at a few things. I'm going to tell you all at that particular moment, that was my real introduction to Alcoholics Anonymous. Sitting down with sober man, opening up the big book and begin looking at the steps. I'm not going to bore you all to tears with all the, I don't want to, for anyone who is getting ready to go through the steps, I don't want to ruin the surprises that will come. We're just going to kind of fast forward in my story a little bit, but I will tell you step one um, was just I struggled a little bit with step one. I still had the car. I still had the nice apartment. I still had the good job. All of that stuff. I still smoke cigarettes. But I don't touch anything else. I don't touch anything. So, thank you, Jesse, for joining the live. Thank you so much for being here for me today and helping me stay sober. When I say that I am a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, I do not touch anything unless it is over the counter or a doctor has prescribed it. We are very strict about that. Those that will say, well, my problem's with alcohol, and then they dabble in other things. And yes, I will throw in marijuana. We call them pharmaceutically flexible, and by saying that they are not living sober. Okay, we are very strict about that. Now, if a doctor does prescribe marijuana, that changes the rules a little bit. So just kind of bear that in mind. So thank you, Jesse, for coming into the live and again for being here with me. If you have the opportunity to think about it, be sure to hit the like button. All righty. Yes, marijuana use is considered, if you are on sobriety and you use marijuana without a doctor's prescription, it is considered a relapse. Right, right. Actually, again, I don't touch any alcohol whatsoever. If a doctor prescribes it, then it is my responsibility to do as the doctor prescribes. And since you guys asked about it, we'll go to it, and this will sum it up on 130 right there. This is on page 133, okay, of the big book. And this will sum it up, okay? Now about health. A body badly burned by alcohol does not recover overnight, nor does twisted thinking and depression vanish in a twinkling. We are convinced that a spiritual mode of living is a powerful health restorative. We who have recovered from serious drinking are miracles of mental health, but we have seen remarkable transformations in our bodies. Hardly one of our crowd shows any mark of dissipation. But this does not mean that we disregard human health measures. God has abundantly supplied this world with fine doctors, psychologists, and practitioners of various kinds. Do not hesitate to take your health problems to such a persons. Most of them give freely of themselves that their fellows may enjoy sound minds and bodies. Try to remember that though God wrought miracles among us, we should not belittle a good doctor or psychiatrist. Their services are often indispensable in treating a newcomer and following in his case afterwards. So, in a nutshell, we trust the medical professionals. We don't trust, if you will, if you're ever in a meeting and someone's like, well, if you're having problems, with anxiety, do this, do that. No. And, uh, maybe that's something, if you will, give it a thought. Give it a thought. Obviously, not right now, but give a thought to maybe coming and seeing those of us in Alcoholics Anonymous. We are always out there. You kick a few stones, you will find us. If you feel that this is a problem, you are welcome to join us. What an old timer will tell you is come in, make yourself comfortable. If you feel like you have a problem with alcohol, you're in the right place. Um, But if you don't like what Alcoholics Anonymous has to offer, we will refund your misery twofold at the front door. But you're welcome to keep coming back. So bear that in mind, okay? Uh, so what we are saying is that, again, if a doctor tells you, yes, so if a doctor was to say to me, Prince Magnum, you need this, you need to use, medical marijuana to get you through this. So I am saying to you, here's your prescription, that sort of thing, for you you know, to help you through whatever it is that you're going through. So at that point, I have to follow the doctor's orders. Okay, it is all about my health, and so to kind of bear that, and just kind of tuck that away, if you will. Uh, so I don't. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but that's how I live my life in Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, so where were we before we kind of got? Um, all right, so we get to my third step, and you know, at this time, I'm a month sober, and my dear friend Tanya had been with me through thick and thin, and just all sorts of stuff, getting me through this whole thing of trying to, she was the only one that really that was kind of sticking by my side. I will also say that my dad, he's like, he had no idea, he didn't fully understand what was going on. To him, it's like, he didn't fully understand, and that's pretty commonplace with family. I just remember he's like, You don't have a problem with it." Yes, I do, Dad. You just didn't know. You didn't know. How could you know? I'm not there and you don't see it every day. So, how could you know? Okay, So, um, um, now that some things never change. So here we are, Tanya is right there. And, she's the only one that really was kind of, all my other friends had pretty well kind of given up on me. And she's the only one saying, hey, he's going to pull through this. He's going to be all right. He's going to make it through this. He needs all of us to get behind him. They kind of sort of, they were doing the best they could. Um, so as this is going on, as I'm dealing with this, dealing with this whole, new to sobriety and everything, we get to about a month and a half, and it's now time for me to sit down for my fourth step. Now I'm going to kind of, this is where Hannah is my little sister. Um, which the irony of that is, she's actually a year younger than my oldest daughter. So the moment she was born, she was already an aunt. Uh, she's uh, uh, my stepmom's younger than my dad. Okay, so it's just kind of one of those things. Now, real quick, I know that whole half thing and step. Basically, either you is or you isn't. Okay, so even half brothers and half sisters, they're just brothers and sisters. And she is the youngest of all of my siblings, while I am the oldest. And I'm getting very old. Yeah, we a mess. We a mess. Hey, we put the fun in dysfunctional, all right? Uh, and when I That's awesome. So here I am, I'm getting, I'm getting right, right. You get it, sis. You get it. All right. So here we are, I'm in a month and a half sober, and I'm getting ready to sit down for my fourth step. And, I wasn't going to do it till I talked to Tanya. And let me say, for the first month and a half of my sobriety, um, Tanya was, again, the only one that was really right there in the thick of it all, really. And, and during this time, she's getting ready to go through a divorce. And I myself, I'm single, you know, and I'm going to tell this part of my story. And I probably will get a little emotional. And even thinking about it right now, I'm already feeling it kind of well up. So just kind of, I apologize now. Um, I'm getting ready to, sit down and start working on my fourth step, but I'm like, I'm not going to do this until I have the opportunity to talk to Tanya. So I called her up and I kind of started telling her, thank you for being there for me and that sort of stuff. And what I was really trying to say, but I was afraid to say it, is in that month and a half, I seen what kind of wonderful woman that she was, and I had fallen in love with her. But I was afraid to just come out and say that. Um, so I'm kind of going through this thing, trying to explain to her that I had feelings for her without actually saying it. And I, I think she had an idea. I think she had an idea. Um, Many will speculate on it. There's still some grand mysteries about it. Um, so we talked, and we talked for about an hour. And then I sat down, I got everything together and started working on my fourth step. Well, this was like on a Tuesday. Um, Thursday, and one of the big reasons why I was afraid to is she was kind of seeing a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine. Um, and him, I had just seen him the other day. So I wasn't, I didn't want to mess with that. Out of respect, respect. Well, Friday rolls around. Tanya is in the hospital with what looked like pneumonia, ICU, and it looked like serious pneumonia. Long before this pandemic, this is back all the way in 2006, and she's sitting in the hospital, and you know, when we found this out, all of evening shift clocked out and went to the hospital, and we all sat in the waiting room waiting to see if we could go back and see her. And then they told us that you're not going to be able to see her till tomorrow. Next day goes, and I end up working a double shift, and I wasn't able to go see Tanya. Um, and I was exhausted. No, it was before all of that, long before all of that. Swine flu was probably another 4 years down the road, I think, if I remember correctly. Um, no, it was in that, between like 2010, 2012. There's still a lot of speculation on her passing, which we'll get to that. Um, so, now you know, this is now Sunday, and I called into work, said, look, I'm sick and tired of working all these doubles for you guys. I'm exhausted. I need a day. Okay. I'm still, I'm still in the early stages of recovery here. I don't have much in the way of strength. So I took the day. Um, and I go, I decided that I was going to go up and see Tanya. This is now Sunday. I put on this nice looking button down shirt, and I put on these nice black jeans, and I put on these nice black dress boots, and put on this really nice looking necklace, and you know, put on and just got dressed up. Stopped off, picked up a dozen of roses. I'm like, you know what? The hell with it. Whatever happens, happens. I'm gonna go tell her how I feel. I get to the hospital, and you know the um, the family, her older sister had to stop me and say, "You can't go back, Prince Magnum." I said, why not? Um, Tanya actually died twice on the table. She's in a coma right now. They brought her back twice, and she's in a coma right now. You can't go back. And it, I was floored, she just asked to speak to me the day before, um, and so there I was all dressed up with a dozen of roses, and the woman that all this was meant for was now in a coma. I go in, sit in the waiting room for the ICU. The family had no idea who I was, a lot of the family. And her dad comes up and says, "Who are you?" And I told him who I was and that we worked together. And I said, "May I ask who you are, sir?" And he says, "I'm Tanya's dad." And I jumped up and I said, "Let me shake the man to the hand who's the father of the woman who saved my life." And I told him, he's like, "Excuse me?" And then I told him my story all the way up to that point. So it was just, and they basically, the family was right there. Her dad pretty well kept me close at hand. Uh, Boy, you want to talk about time slowing down again. I was there pretty much, that was 4 o'clock in the evening, and I was there all the way till probably 3 o'clock in the morning. And I went home for a little while and I rested, and I came back in like 7 in the morning, and they had said that she had died one more time in the middle of the night, and it was, it didn't look good. The family had came to the conclusion that if she goes one more time, they were just going to let her go. A lot of the family was upset, and her dad basically said, "We can't keep doing this to her." They basically said because of everything going on, that she'll be a vegetable, if she survives this. So they started letting family go back, and I went home briefly. Hey, Last of the Riders Creed, welcome to the live. I'm actually telling the early days of me getting sober, and we're in a hard spot in the part of the story. So feel free, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Um, Basically, they started letting family go back and see Tanya, and then they basically got all of us real close friends to let us go back and see her. And I went back with all of us, and we were all in uniform. And I had somehow inherited 2 1-month coins, and at this time, again, I'm a month and a half sober, and I take and I basically gave it to Tanya, and I said, "Wherever you go, no matter what happens through all of this, I want you to remember, without you, I wouldn't have the other one, you know." And I explained it to her dad, and he said, "We will make sure that she keeps that with her always." And never forget all the tubes and IVs sticking out of her and everything. This is the woman that, when I got to the hospital, I was going to tell her I was in love with her. Um, so we all, we were told before we went in that it was okay to tell her, that they wanted us to tell her that it was okay if she wanted to let go, that we would all be okay. In the group, and all of us that were close, all of us friends, none of the others could do it. I had to be the one. And remember taking her hand. Gosh dang, his hand was so cold. Circulation was going. She couldn't breathe. It was kind of, they said it was like a blood clot that was between her heart and her lungs, but the autopsy was inconclusive. Basically, I had to tell her, "Tanya, if you want to let go, we'll be okay." And then I also told her, I said, "No matter what happens, I know we're not supposed to make promises like this, but I will make this promise anyways. Because of you, I'm sober today, but I will, for you, become one of those AA winners. I will be one of those ones that you hear about, those AA winners that goes on and makes one heck of a story, reaches countless people. I will be one of those people. I promise you, I will be one of those people. We said our goodbyes. We all went to work. This was March 20th, 2006. At about 6:30, my director of nursing comes back. Prince Magnum, I have bad news. And I'm glad you're sitting down. Tanya just passed away. We just got the phone call that she passed. In a nutshell, she passed away before I had a chance to tell her I was in love with her. There are many that still speculate today that she knew. I don't know. I don't know. The funeral, it tore me apart. Sober man, actually, I think she may have at least a clue, but I don't know. You know, the funeral was just sober man actually had to come and sit with me so I could be there and everything. And it was just, it was devastating. I I got through it. Sober man even swore up and down he wasn't sure I was going to make it through that. That was a long time ago. But, I'm not going to lie. I still, you'll have to excuse me right now. I'm actually choking back. It's been 14 years since then. And it's still very hard to talk about. I still get choked up. It just tears me apart. After the funeral, I did the only thing I knew what to do. I went and started continuing on my fourth step. Called up sober man, said, "Let's keep going." So we got through it, and that was probably one of the toughest moments I had to get through in those early days. Um, you know, got through it. Got to 6 months of sobriety, and a lot of you have heard that story. We'll tell that one again later. Got with, my third child, my son Devin, got with his mother during this time. She drank and drugged all the money away. Had to go back home and live with my dad and stepmom for a little while. Got back on my feet. Got with the wrong gal. Well, that's not really fair. That's not fair. I mean, she was wrong for me, but through her, I ended up meeting Princess Faye and my wife. For the record, today, Princess Faye is fully aware of Tanya's story. When we go, when I took Princess Faye to Tanya's gravesite for the very first time, she actually left a letter thanking her. Yeah. So you guys know, I think we all understand loss, but Princess Faye, actually left a letter with Tanya saying thank you. Hey, Queen Bee! Boy, it's been a long time since we've seen each other in chat. I just got through telling one of the most gut-wrenching parts of my sobriety story, so I'm a little emotional right now. I've actually been choking back tears this whole time. So welcome to the live. Thank you for being here for me. So that was one of those things that, we got through it, and you know, I've had some really awesome stories since that time. You know, um, there was everyone's heard the story of how, the first time I was at, my first area assembly, representing my home group. Real quick, I was 3 months sober, and the Noon Topic group, one of the gals comes up and says, Prince Magnum, do you have a home group yet? I said, not yet. I said, I was thinking about making this my home group. Interesting, interesting. Uh, Give us your sober date and your phone number. Okay, cool. So I did. The next week, they hand me a phone list of all the other home group members and that sort of thing. And they basically asked, when would I like to chair a meeting? So I never actually asked to join my first home group. They just adopted me. The irony of that. So my first home group, they adopted me. Sober man thought that was funny. He's like, you got the easy way in, didn't you? He said, they just adopt you. He said, I had to ask. So, real quick, now that we're talking about sober man again, I was 7 months sober. A lot of stuff happened during that 5 to 7 month time frame, and it was really an exciting time. It's one of my most fond parts of my sobriety story. We get to my 6 month sobriety birthday, which ironically enough, I did not plan this. August 7th is my birthday. Which I also have a brother. His birthday is August 13th. Ironically enough, I can remember that because of my birthday being August 7th. Anyhow, so literally, my birthday is 6 months apart from my sobriety birthday. I did not plan that. It's just the way it fell. Again, thank you all so much for the 8 likes. So, here we are. It's like I took some vacation time for this whole sobriety thing. I was all excited, and my ex, my son's mother. Oh wow, we got 9 likes. Thank you. She I did not know it, but she had set up a surprise birthday party for me. We were all excited about the fact that I was making. Yep, 9 likes. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all. She had set up this whole get together, this surprise birthday party for 6 months sobriety, and the fact that I was turning 27. And I actually have pictures from that. Ironically enough, my photo album is right here. Hang on a second. Wow. Going to the photo album. Wow. Right? Holy crap, Batman. Oh my gosh, I haven't looked at this in a while. For my sobriety birthday, we went to Six Flags and had a blast. Real quick, this was me at 27 years old with my son's mother. That was a long time ago. My goodness. I was a lot fitter then. Hey, what's going on? Caleb, you're back. Welcome back. So I was a lot fitter back then. As a matter of fact, this was the night going into. I think I'm aging pretty well. But I looked really, really young. I was 27. Oh, yeah. It is what it is. So yeah, that was a long time. My goodness, that was a long time ago. And so it was really cool. As a matter of fact, to give you an idea, I used to be in really great shape. There you go. The next day, I'm at an AA meeting, and I got my 6 month sobriety coin and everything. Just had a great time, and wouldn't trade those moments for anything. So yeah, so it was really exciting. Had a great time. Did I look really young back then? I don't look so young now compared to back then. But believe it or not, I was a grand total of 27 then. My goodness. And here I am, 40 now. I look younger when I'm clean shaven, but anyhow. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Uh, and I remember at 7 months sober, I said to sober man, I said, you know, yeah, I'm 40. I'm 40 now. Um, and believe it or not, being really, I guess I age well. For the record, when I was 29, um, no, I'm sorry, I was 28. I was 28. I had one of my lady friends in AA actually say to me, um, I have a theory why you look so young. It must have been all the alcohol you drank because it preserved you like a pickling process. Uh, I'm like, I don't think it works that way. But it is what it is. It's kind of one of those things. Here, as a matter of fact, God, don't fall down on me, guys. Don't fall down on me. Hang on here. I accidentally dropped the photo album on. There we go. Goodness gracious. There we go. We're still going. We're still live. Yeah, we still live. All right. Awesome. All righty. Real quick. You guys are going to love this. The gal I was with before Princess Faye. And that was me at the age of 30. My goodness. I was a lot fitter back then too. I was in great shape, great shape. So, it was, I've been growing old in sobriety, again, that is one of the things that, I hung around. I've got stories to tell. Princess Faye has watched me stand in front of over 200 alcoholics. I think it was like 260, 270 plus alcoholics in a room and just talk for a few minutes. And I had people, like a year or two after that come up and say, man, I was right there when you said that. And that was the deepest thing I ever heard. And I'm like, you remember that? Shoot. I mean, I barely remember what I said in that, but okay, awesome, man. I remember sitting there as a GSR one time. I was getting ready to rotate out of the GSR position. Was getting ready at that time, getting ready to go into the alternate DCM position. And as this is going on, someone actually, someone was, who had been through several different forms of, been through all different forms of service. There was basically the outgoing GSRs had to say to the incoming GSRs, had to basically say some things that would kind of help them. And everyone was getting all technical and everything. I'm like, dude, you guys are going to scare these new GSRs away. So what did I do? I said, okay, guys. I said, let me, I said, we've heard all the technical stuff that we really need to hear. What I'm going to say right now is let me give you something to kind of work with. You all are coming in, and don't feel like that that this is going to be that you have to do this perfect or anything like that. Just understand this is your job in Alcoholics Anonymous. But I'm going to say with this job comes something else. And then I started talking about the people that I've met, the things that I've learned, and the friendships that I've made, how I've learned what sobriety is like in other parts of the area, how it even differs even just between where I live here in St. Francis County and what it's like up in St. Louis, and so I talked about that. And I said, I get the best of both worlds and things like that. And people were, and when I walked out, when they dismissed us, the one guy who led the GSR meeting, he walks up and said, dude, I've been a GSR several times and I've been all through service. He said, listening to you, I want to do the GSR, the GSR job again. He's like, wow. He's like, how long have you been sober? And at that time I was 4 years sober. I've done some interesting stuff in sobriety, you know. So if you all got any questions, now's a great time to start hitting me up with questions. Some of the different things. If I've talked about something from Alcoholics Anonymous that you may not fully understand, now would definitely be the time to ask those questions. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Just that sort of thing. Okay. Don't be afraid to ask your questions. You guys are awesome. Like I said, AA has led me into. I've had, three of my children had never seen me drunk. Three of my children have never seen me drunk. Let's see. I got married in sobriety. Gosh, the places I've got to be. I've been a speaker so many times. At one point, I was almost asked to be. And the sad part is, for those again who do not know, my little sister is in the live. She's actually listening. A lot of this part of the story she never really heard. I've got to be at some pretty neat places. I remember when I was 11 months sober, almost a year. Sober man and I had gotten my son's mother, Jessica, and his wife, Mrs. Sober Man. We went up towards St. Louis area and was going to meetings, and I was at this one Club 410, and it was really cool because I went in there. There was a newcomer. And, I started trying to reach that newcomer, and I got to a spot. I said, this thing's been working for me for 11 months. And the whole room just started applauding. I looked over at Sober Man, like I wasn't really going for that. And he's like, keep going, keep going, keep going. He's like, just keep rolling with it. And then someone said, I really didn't like being around the Farmington area. But after listening to what you had to say, I think I would like to come down and see you guys sometime. So that's just the power of, let me say that all of us in AA have our gifts. My gift is I have the ability to kind of take center stage and, kind of put words to what it is I'm trying to express a lot of times, especially in sobriety. And, I can kind of take that center stage. So that's my gift. And through that, I'm able to inspire, to at least some degree, other people to stay sober. So that's how that works. Some people are good at specifically talking to the professional community. Some people are good at organizing or keeping track of money and things like that. So AA takes those talents and puts them to use to help keep the program alive and well. So the next newcomer who needs us can, has a place to go and begin returning to the flow of life, I guess is the best way to put it. I've been through the steps. You know, I've sponsored people. I've even had a sponsee who decided to relapse and didn't make it back. And he was actually the last one I sponsored. I couldn't do it after that. I just couldn't do it. I stopped raising my hand to take on a new sponsee. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I mean, after Zach passed, I mean, I just couldn't do it. So that was the most heartbreaking thing because he was 21 and they found him in St. Louis. Just it broke my heart to have him pass. And I had already met his mom and shook her hand and things like that. And I went to, I actually showed up for the funeral. And I remember walking in and immediately his dad was there. And I had not met his dad because mom and dad were split up. He says, who are you? And I said, my name is, I gave him my real name, obviously. I said, I was Zach's AA sponsor. And he said, you were the guy, you were trying to help Zach? Hey, what's going on, Alex? Welcome to the live. Thank you so much for being in here for me. Sharing stories about, talking about sobriety. For those, if you did not know, I am actually a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. My sober date is February 7th, 2006. So as of this year, I am 14 years sober. And I will say that I am still a selfish alcoholic. I need every last member of Alcoholics Anonymous to help me stay sober. Along with that, I need all of you. And you all in the Maverick Nation are over 1,000 strong. That is pretty doggone selfish if I need over 1,000 people worldwide to help me stay sober. That's how selfish this alcoholic is. All right, yeah. I'll give you a holler. For those that do not know, Third Gen 83, he has himself a gorgeous, hang on a second. Third Gen 83 has a gorgeous two-door Maverick. If y'all get a chance, go over to his channel and check out his Maverick. Oh my gosh. Gorgeous. Anyhow, we have too much fun here, don't we? I am the one that you guys are awesome. That's my sis. I got sobriety is definitely interesting. It was never the amount of alcohol that I drank. It's what happened to me when I drank. Okay. Let me put it more into perspective. I found out that I was allergic to alcohol. Every time I drank, I broke out in spots. Well, it took a lot of people to get me to where I'm at now. It took a lot of people, to get me where I'm at now. But I found out I was allergic to alcohol. I broke out in spots. Farmington, Park Hills, Fredericktown. That one time I showed up in Peevely, Ironton. You guys get the idea. I broke out in spots. Let me give you an idea. During my drinking days, I remember hanging out with my drinking buddy. He was sitting in the passenger seat. His girlfriend was sitting behind him. And there was a gal that I knew that I worked with who was sitting behind me, but she wasn't my girlfriend. My girlfriend was, so I don't know if anything happened that night, I don't know. I remember sitting there drinking Wild Turkey 101. And the next thing I remember, we were pulling into the Peevely Flea Market, which was uh, about an hour and a half's drive away. As we're pulling in, I'm saying, into this parking spot, yep, saying we're here. And I had no idea where the hell here was. Okay. I did not know where we were. I played it cool and I'm like, okay, I know where we're at now. I did not know how we got there. And we took that big 77 Olds Delta 88. So if I killed anybody along the way, I couldn't tell you. Back when I drank, I really didn't like beer. Um, I was more of a Crown Royal drinker. I loved my Crown Royal. If I didn't get Crown Royal, I liked Canadian Mist. I liked my hard liquor. Um, I would get sick off of beer before I got drunk, if that's any indication. Um, and this is not, yeah, straight to the whiskey. Yep, yep. This is not. I would definitely not call this bragging rights. I would not be. I'm not proud of this, but this tells you how sick I was. Okay, this should be an indicator of how sick I was. Right, the hard stuff, sis. Hardcore all the way. Um, okay, so you get it. You get it. Um, we I was going into this particular gas station, Strickland's down there near 21. My sis will know exactly where I'm talking about. I would go in there every day after work and buy a fifth or of whatever I was feeling that day. A lot of times I would come out of there, and that's how it started. But a lot of times I would come out of there with more than that fifth. Um, so I went in, and there was a guy behind me this particular day, and he had like what the 30 pack. I forget. It's been so long. I don't know how they pack. I know a 6 pack, 12 pack. That's about it. But he had the case, the big box case of I think it was Budweiser. Um, and I looked behind me, looked down, and I said, "Getting ready to." Right, right. I looked down and I looked at that case. I said, "Getting ready to tie one on this weekend." And he said, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to get." It might have been. He said, "Yeah, I'm going to get good and lit this weekend." Really? It was my turn next. I walked up to the counter. I said, "I'll take a fifth of your Crown Royal. Um, I'll go ahead and take a fifth of, yeah, whatever that is, right over there. And then I'll go ahead and have you ever tried that?" And she's like, she didn't even get that. I said, "You know what? Heck with it. I've not tried it. Go ahead and bag that up for me too." And I forget how much it was. And she said, "Would you like me to go ahead and bag this up for you?" I said, "Yeah, if you don't mind." And she's bagging it up, and um, I hand her the money, and I turn around to the guy behind me who's got that case of beer, and I looked at him and said, "Lightweight." And then, uh, she hands me my change and walk out. I said, "I'll see you tomorrow." That's how it was. And he's like, "Oh my God." That's how sick I was. And that was me at the age of 22. So if that's again any indication what it was like. Um, why did I drink that way? Well, if you had all that happened to you, folks, I made a million excuses. What it boiled down to is I didn't know how to live life on life's terms. That's the honest to goodness truth. I did not know how to live life. Okay. Today, a better way of saying it, all the way up until I got sober, for at least the first couple of months of sobriety, I would look in the mirror and say to me, "You are nothing but a monster. Nothing but a monster." You don't deserve to be here. You don't deserve the breath that you're taking in right now. That's how much I hated me. Then, after about that 3 months, I got to where I could say to me, you're not so bad after all. You're not so bad after all. That was all the way up until 3 years. Shortly after I made 3 years sober, I was able to do something that most people today who are not even alcoholic or addict can't imagine. I looked at myself in the mirror, and I could still do this. I looked at myself in the mirror and said, I love you to me. I love the man who's looking back at me in that mirror. And that's through a process of working the 12 steps of recovery. That's what all of you have helped me obtain today, that I can look at myself in the mirror today and say, I love you to me. It means that I'm not that, I'm a good person deep down, that my higher power found it, was Oh, real quick, sis. Crown Royal didn't used to be that expensive. It wasn't that expensive back then. Give you an idea, when I was in high school, actually, no, just a year after I graduated high school, $100 of U.S. currency could buy around about. There was this was for the oldest two daughters. Her and I went to her prom. I didn't go to my prom. I didn't like anybody in school. So we went to her prom. Afterwards, we did what a lot of people did. We went and got wasted. Well, they did. I was the designated driver. Well, we got a fifth of Crown, a fifth of, let's see, a couple of fifths of vodka, and it was the mid-price stuff. A fifth of Tequila Rose, some Mickey's Malt, like a couple of 6-packs of the Mickey's Malt Liquor shorts, what we used to call the grenades. I don't even think they sell that stuff anymore. Picked up a couple other, a couple of other types of beer and things like that. So we were stocked up. As a matter of fact, at the age of 18, I went on a bender from hell for one whole week. And ironically enough, I get to the end of that bender and I'm like, I better stop this or I'm going to turn into one of them alcoholics. Duh, I already did. I just didn't know it. That's how it was. Thank you all so much for the 9 likes. I appreciate that. Thank you all again for being in here and listening to me tell my story. Sobriety has brought me a long ways. Now, tonight, there was someone who was in chat who has been struggling with sobriety. I'm not going to give that person's name. If they decide to give it, then that's fine. But they've been struggling with sobriety, and I wanted to tell my story tonight. I've told it numerous times here on the channel. But I felt it was necessary to tell it again. So if anything, during these hard times, if anyone found any inspiration, if anyone could take anything from it, if there was anyone who is struggling with sobriety or has been curious, maybe they're alcoholic, but need that little something to maybe say, hey, I'm one of you and I want help. Whatever you could take from this, I was just more than tickled to come on here and to share my story again. Like I said, there was someone I know that was going to be in chat and is in chat right now. I know has been listening the whole time. If anything I said rung a bell, helps you through, then I've done my job. But I will not give that person's name away. That is That's up to them to break their own anonymity. Real quick, when you hear the word anonymity and Alcoholics Anonymous, uh, I can tell on me, I just can't tell on you. That's how it works, okay? That is how anonymity works. So if you ever wondered about that, that's how, when I go, if I have to go see a doctor, I immediately, one of the first things I tell that doctor is I'm in recovery. I tell him my sober date. And the reason why I do that, right. Um, the reason why I tell that doctor that is so they know what medications not to give me. Yeah, basically. Well, if I do tell anybody's story, that is in the program with me, I don't give their name. I just say there's someone I know, you know. So again, you guys are amazing. Had a lot to talk about. 14 years of sobriety. I've been to a lot of places. Again, I've done some really awesome stuff. Went through a lot of tragedy. I'm not going to lie to you. Alcohol, when you get sober, life still happens, and it's not a bed of roses. Well, I guess you could say it is because roses have thorns and life still hurts. Things still happen. Look at the world around us. I am at risk like everybody else. Just because I'm sober does not mean that I am not at risk like everybody else. I am just as much at risk as all of you. I can be hurt just as much of like all of you. But the one thing that I will say that sobriety, if there's nothing you have taken from anything in this, I want you to all take away these following things. Number one, no matter what happens, you can stay sober. If you want sobriety bad enough, you can stay sober no matter what. The other thing that I will tell you is life is precious. Life is very precious. So precious, in fact, that many normal people who are not alcoholic, not addict, take life for granted. Okay? I am an alcoholic and I live on borrowed time anyways. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be alive, but yet I am. I'm here today as a result of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I know I'm living on borrowed time. I will always be one arm bend away from the man I used to be. So I take each day and live it as if it's my last, enjoying every moment I possibly can, while still trying to give away as much of what sobriety has given me to everybody. It may not be much to many, but it's something to me, so I try to give that away. So I try to enjoy each day to its fullest. And in the end of all of that, if I help just one person, then that day was a successful day. It was a full and complete day for me. So, if I helped anybody today in this entire live, then let me say right now, then I will say that thank you for being here for me. Okay. Because when I'm helping people, I'm being of service. I'm useful. And because I'm useful, I know that I'm still needed as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I know my higher power still needs me and my work isn't done. So when you all are here letting me tell my story and hopefully helping someone, then I know full well that I'm still of service. Okay. So that's how that works. When I say that I still need every last one of you out there, that's why. That's why. Okay. So at this point, we have been on for a good while, and I'm getting hungry and I have to make a couple of phone calls and things like that. I got to go do what Prince Magnum does when he's not on camera and, that sort of thing. Again, I want to thank all of you for being here with me. Um, thank you. Thank you for being here for me. You know, that we need each other. We need each other. And during these dark times, I especially want to thank every last one of you for letting me come into your home and sharing what it is that I have to offer, whether it's DIY stuff, whether it's romance, or it's just me being a goofball or putting on a magic show, which we'll have to do that again. I know a lot of you out there have children and you can't take them anywhere, and the quarantines that are happening and things like that. So the kids need something. So we'll look at doing another magic show live again for those of you who have got children and need some sort of entertainment for them. Or cooking. Yes, we've done cooking. We've done all sorts of stuff. You guys are awesome. Thank you for letting me come into your homes and making a difference, if I have. Because when you all let me make a difference, you're helping me stay sober at least one more day, So you guys mean the world to me. Real quick, updates. If all goes well, we have a special live planned for Saturday. Tomorrow we will probably go live twice. I know in the early part of the day we're going to spend some time with Project Spirit. So for those of you who are just all excited about seeing Project Spirit again, oh, you guys, again, thank you all so much for all the lights. You guys are amazing. You guys are the best, Again, I am the luckiest content creator in the world because I have all of you. You guys are the Maverick Nation. You guys are amazing, Along with that, I'm going to ask all of you who are kind enough to stick around in the live. I have more of the aircraft remover. Videos. Again, we will keep them going as long as you guys want. I know a lot of you are really enjoying those. Do you guys want another one tonight? Do you want another aircraft remover tonight? The last one we did Star Wars, finally. I know Gamerin was asking if we were going to do Star Wars, and I said, yeah, man, we'll do one for you. So we did Star Wars. That is not where I needed to go. So tonight, if you guys want, I will release another aircraft remover. I was going to wait till the weekend, but if you guys want another one. How many do I have left so far? I have another 4 and another couple that I'm getting ready to start working on. I do have one kind of like that. Already that I'm getting ready to start working on. I won't tell you no more, okay? These are all surprises. So if you guys want, do you guys want another one released tonight? Honestly, we're not going to run out anytime soon. I promise you. I even got some running gags that I've got some running gags that I've got to start working on with with the aircraft remover gag. I've even thought about calling Rust-Oleum and telling them, you do realize there's now a running gag on my YouTube channel with you guys as aircraft remover. And I know they'll be like, what's the gag? Aircraft remover. Get it? I know that's what it's going to be. Oh, and then tell them where the channel is. And they probably get a kick out of it. Like, really, dude? Really? But I have, so real quick then, maybe I should get them to sponsor me at this rate. So we don't worry, we won't run out anytime soon. But there is one that I will definitely be saving as like the grand finale, the grand poobah of them all. So we're up to Aircraft Remover 5 or Aircraft Remover Other Uses. It's up to you guys. What do you want? Now I will tell you, Aircraft Remover Other Uses is a little dark. It's funny, but it's a little dark. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. Um, okay, so we got one of each. One of each. I need a tiebreaker here. I need some tiebreakers. We have Aircraft Remover 5 and then Aircraft Remover Other Uses. It's up to you guys. So we got one for each. Okay, so there was my tiebreaker. So Aircraft Remover Other Uses. So, okay. And then we'll look at later on, probably around Sunday, we'll go ahead and release the Aircraft Remover 5. And I will say right now, 5 is one of my favorites, honestly. Don't worry, Sean. We'll get his Aircraft Remover 5 later. I promise you, he'll love it. He'll love it. Um, I'll put it to you like this, Sean. It'll be worth waiting for. I promise you. It's my favorite. It's my favorite so far. It beats the original. It beats the original hands down, bar none. That's so we'll leave it at that. Okay. All right, guys. Again, I got some stuff I gotta take care of, and I got more aircraft removers to work on. I will take the day off Monday. The Think Different asked me to go live Sunday, and I will do so. I don't know what we're doing Sunday, but we will definitely do something. I'm actually off that day from work, but we will continue. I will take Monday off instead, and we'll just make Mondays my regular day off from streaming, and it'll just be loaded content only that day. Okay. Actually, tomorrow will be a cooking live. We are going to do, believe it or not, tomorrow, one of them. We're going to spend time with Project Spirit for a little while tomorrow, but then later in the day, we are going to do a Surviving Romance live cooking episode, quarantine dinner for 2. So we're going to have some fun with that, and it's going to be a great time. So I'm going to show y'all, show y'all that romance can still happen even in quarantine. Okay, and I've not even told Princess Faye what I have planned. What time we will go live at about 7. The plan is that unless I go onto onto my community post and say otherwise, we will always go live at 7 o'clock. Okay, and when it's loaded content, just expect it to pop up when it pops up, because sometimes my internet is great. Most of the time, it's a complete joke. So that's where we're at on that. Okay. So it's just one of those things. Just expect what you expect. Now, I will tell you, to kind of help us kind of get through all of this and to help my watch time at the same time, I am also going to look at sometime at kind of doing a Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild like mini movie. That'll be that I'm going to try to keep around 45 minutes long. That way, you guys, when you're bored as snot, it's something to watch and it's still entertaining. And of course, it helps my watch time. So we'll do something like that, and, it is kind of, because it's a video game, kind of cartoonish and everything, be great for the kids too, and we'll keep it clean. We'll keep it clean. Because I know I can get pretty dang, sometimes, yeah, I got to be careful. My mom watches this stuff too, real quick, since my little sister is in here, in the old house, because it had all the chickens and everything, I was talking about how I was worried about coyotes getting the chickens. Dad turns around and he says, the coyotes don't usually get too close to the house. He said, I worry about foxes. And I just smiled, looked at him, and said, I don't worry about foxes at all. And I don't mind foxes. And he kind of sat there a moment. It's like, it didn't even, and then he's like, it dawned on him where I went with that. He's like, I don't mind foxes either. he's like, just snuck that one in there. Wrong type of foxes in this case. That's actually whenever you basically referring to a fox as an attractive woman in the old days. You don't hear that term very often anymore, but that's, yeah. Um, exactly. So that's, it's an old term, but yeah, I snuck that one in there. Dad totally, yeah. Then there was the time that I forgot what we were buying, but I asked him, I said, it tells you how long ago this was. I said, do you take checks here from the Farmington area? Yep, Jimi Hendrix. Um, and they said, yeah, we'll take a check from the Farmington area. I said, okay. And then I start reaching in. I know you're not. I am. I'm quite a bit older. Well, I started reaching in my back pocket to pull out my checkbook. And of course, my dad was sitting right there and I said, excuse me while I whip this out. And he's just like, I was like, what the heck? He's like, we'll talk about it later. Caught him off guard with it. All right. So I really do need to shut it down now. So again, thank you all for being here with me. And I know normally I have that one whole thing that I say, at the end of the live, but since this is sober talk, we do it a little bit different here in the Sober Talk Live. And here's how we go ahead and shut it down. At day's end, I hope all of you need me as much as I need you. And for all of you, no matter what's going on in your life, especially in these dark times. Hey, A&R, thank you so much. We're actually just getting ready to shut it down. Thank you for smashing that like. For all of you out there, especially in these dark times, if no one out there has told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.